Well, there's a
All
lot.
right.
There's definitely a lot to talk about today.
There is a tremendous amount to talk about, and we are live at the moment. So,
Oh, okay.
let me
A
go
lot,
ahead
lot of,
and
lot of
I'm
people.
gonna
No, not
actually,
yet. I know. What you're
yeah,
gonna actually what?
I'm gonna give this a second because I know I know a lot of people are
I was
wanting
gonna
to.
say. I tell you, I wasn't ready.
Nah, you're trying to post, right?
Yeah, I just want to be able to share it real quick, so I don't have to look down when I do the show. I just want to do the show.
Sure.
You know what I
And,
mean?
and and for those of you who are listening via podcast or stream at the moment, this is behind the scenes stuff. So you're welcome.
Mhm.
I don't know if that matters or not, but
Oh boy,
yeah. Anyways, let me know when you're ready, Princess.
I'm ready, Prince.
You can call me Princess too. It's okay. We're all equal here.
We're all
All
equal
right.
princesses.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
there
ready?
you go.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'm
run
ready.
the intro.
Shut up and sit down.
Well, all right. Boom.
Boom.
Hey, everybody, how are you doing? I'm the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you. We are Dope and Dharma, and this is a We the Middle edition of Dope and Dharma. And along with me is my partner, the Dharma guy, Trinity Phillips. What's up, brother?
Hey, what is up?
I'm doing
I'm,
fantastic, man. It's a
I'm
beautiful,
cautiously optimistic for today, by the way.
hot day.
Yeah, man, it's been really hot in the last 2 days.
It's been really hot, so I'm sure that you're suffering over there. But today
It is
might get a little
miserable.
hotter, man, because we're gonna get right into it. We're talking about some pretty hot topics today, man, and we haven't done a We the Middle edition of Dope and Dharma in a while. And for those that don't know, We the Middle is a version of our show where we dip into politics a little bit. We're not left, blue, Crips, and we're not right, red, Bloods. We are in the middle. We're just normal, everyday people like most of you, actually. I mean, you guys may be registered Republican or Democrat, but most of you kind of sit somewhere close in the middle. And we actually do sit in the middle, and we don't. I'm not registered either way, and I don't think Trinity is registered either way.
No, I'm registered independent.
Yeah, so am I. So, this is not a new show. So if you're watching this and you know the topics we're going to talk about today, this is not a new show. This is not, we're not here for all factual information. It's not that you're going to learn something by coming on here. You're not going to learn what the facts of the situation are. But what you are going to do is we're just going to share our opinions because we feel that everybody has them. And we're all talking about this stuff anyway. And Trinity and I like creating opportunities for people to openly discuss even difficult situations. That's why we do an addiction show, because we've been doing that for 23 years. People weren't talking about addiction and recovery 23 years ago, and so that's why the Couch Live exists. We do Dharma time because people, when they talk about faith or spirituality, they want to pinpoint just religion and talk it from a religious perspective, and we do it in a very open format on Dharma time. And on this show, We the Middle, we do it from a middle perspective that, some of our viewers and listeners may be left in nature, maybe right in nature, but that's on them. And they're allowed to share their opinion, and every voice matters. And we're not going to, disallow you from sharing your opinion. We may crack on it a little bit if it's kind of way out there, but
No,
that's
not
just
us.
that's just human nature, right? That's just human nature. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
So we got several topics that we're going to discuss today. First of all, Trinity, give us a rundown of the topics that we're going to cover in today's show.
Well, I mean, aside from anything that whoever's watching live makes a comment
Mhm.
on,
Okay.
the ones that we have planned to talk about
Okay.
are the recent leaked paperwork, I guess, if you want to call it that, from the Supreme Court of the United States. Obviously having to deal with abortion and the Roe v. Wade
Mhm.
law. And then
Right.
the second one is Governor DeSantis recently announced his intention to create a new law that would allow
Mhm.
permitless carry. At the moment, if you want to carry a weapon in Florida,
Mhm.
you have to have a concealed weapons permit. And he's trying to do away
Right.
with that. The third thing we have listed
Okay.
here, which I'm actually interested to talk about, is politics and gaming. And we'll go into further details as we move along. And then the last
Right.
one, of course, we added to the list was Dave Chappelle and the recent attack.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
All good
whatever that
stuff,
was.
man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited. Those are all good stuff. I'm really eager to hear what people have to say about this. So if you're watching, listening, or whatever, hopefully you're watching on a
Agreed.
platform. Which are the platforms, Trinity, that they can like share with us live? Because I know Facebook Live, YouTube Live, right?
Yeah, if you're watching live on Facebook, which would be facebook.com/WPSN99, it's actually on the bottom of the screen at the moment.
Okay.
Or you can watch us on YouTube. Just look up Dope and Dharma on YouTube,
Mhm.
or you can
Mhm.
watch us on Twitch. If you look up Dope and
Mhm.
Dharma on Twitch as well,
Mhm.
those are the three platforms. If you're watching live, you can actually comment, and we will add it to the stream.
Okay.
However, later, if you want to check this out on any of the podcasting platforms, you're more than welcome to, but you won't be able to interact live.
Looks like Marissa on Facebook Live wants to add another topic to what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. I have a question on a topic not listed. I should have sent you the video before this. Yeah. Let's get ours.
Let's get started. Yeah, let's get it started, and then because you got to start with the Roe versus Wade, right? Got to start with the abortion.
That's the biggest thing everybody's talking about right now. I think,
right? Yeah. It's huge, and so let me throw some questions at you, Trinity. I mean, obviously, you've dug into it a little bit deeper than I have. I haven't really dug into it, so I'm coming at it fresh. So I got a lot of questions about it.
Okay, I'll do my best.
All right. So first of all, do you know why Roe versus Wade? Wait. First of all, before I say why it was put in place, what is Roe versus Wade? From just a regular perspective, not a legal perspective, not a
sure.
Trinity, you have to answer it like a scholar,
right?
But get just as a regular
emails
person,
after this.
Yeah, what is it? What is your understanding?
So the best way I can explain it in layman's terms is it's a court case that was established roughly 50 years ago, where the woman's right to have an abortion safely and effectively was essentially protected under federal law. Prior to that, there wasn't really a lot of that going on. There was a lot of, as they call it, hanger abortions, where they were taking coat hangers and kind of doing it because they weren't legally allowed to go get it in a safe manner. And so they sued, and they said it was supposed to be protected. They utilized, if I remember correctly, the 14th Amendment, which allowed you to have a private kind of relationship between you and your doctor. And then that was essentially used to justify abortions in a legal and safe way. They were saying essentially, because that is a private conversation between yourself and your doctor, then you're allowed to do it. That is essentially, in layman's terms, what Roe v. Wade is and why it's so important to so many people.
Okay, and it was put in place for these reasons. Now, I'm guessing that some of these things, it was a harmful. There must have been something going on why this was put in place, right? I mean,
well, the coat hanger abortions. Yeah,
well,
a lot of women were using coat hangers. I guess I don't know the data or the statistics on that. I just know that that is the agreed upon assessment of what was happening, and it was essentially, basically people were using coat hangers, and they were dying in streets and things of that nature because they didn't have access to. And you got to remember too, back then, contraception wasn't as widely available as it is today either.
Okay, so Richard Coleman definitely had his hand up. He wanted to tell us, what it was, I guess. Richard, go ahead. Feel free to type in notes throughout this as you want. Love to include you on this and just kind of get some additional perspective. Anyway, all right. So the other question there, Trinity, is what is the fear that will happen if it does go away? Because I'm assuming if it's going away, here's the way I look at it. Just before I even get into what it is and other opinions. I'm just not used to seeing things like laws being taken away. Like, I mean, you're used to things continually to progress forward, right? You're not used to anything ever going backwards. So something that the Supreme Court actually put in place to then walk back and go back is sounds unusual. I'm not so. I don't know if it is.
It's not actually.
I don't know.
The Supreme Court has done this over 250 times, I think.
Okay, so they've put things, they've enacted things. Rights on people.
They've contradicted themselves over 250 sometimes.
Okay. All right.
And I say contradicted not as a negative term. It's just as they came out with a certain opinion, and as times have changed, they've changed their opinions. It's well over 200 times they've done this.
Okay. All right. And do we know why all of a sudden here we are in 2022 that this had to be done?
I believe that first and foremost, it's been commented on before. I think even Ruth Bader Ginsburg mentioned that they misappropriately applied the law. The Supreme Court can't just arbitrarily say, hey, let's rehear this. Kind of something new has to come to them to rule on. And there was one that was brought up recently that they ruled on because they didn't directly go after Roe v. Wade. They're using this latest case, and I can't remember what the case is. I think it was the one with a girl. The girl down in Texas was trying to have an abortion. And they arrested her or whatever. And that was being essentially heard by the Supreme Court. So them deciding on this affects, because of precedence, affects the Roe v. Wade argument.
Right.
And so they didn't rule directly on Roe v. Wade, but
Right.
this one affects it. And all they're saying for this particular one is, from a federal perspective, it no longer fits within I think it's the 14th Amendment. And they're going to take a step back and let the states decide on this particular matter.
Okay, so basically just kicking it back to the states, which is what Marissa on Facebook just said, is kicking it back to the states, right?
Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. Is they're saying it's no longer going to be a federal matter. Each state is going to be able to make up their own mind as how they view it and how they proceed.
So far it sounds really simple, right? So far it sounds
I believe
not
it is
complicated, yes. but it's obviously very complicated, Trinity, because I mean, people are losing their minds about this, man. I mean, like, really upset and frustrated and angry and I mean, fighting about it.
I think the reason why, well, first and foremost, the reason why is because the media has got their own agenda and they're putting it out there and they're freaking everybody out and they're riling up their supporters, each side for that matter.
Okay.
I think what it is there's this misconception that this decision just outlaws abortions everywhere, and we're going to go back to like the 1930s. And that's not the case.
Yeah, well, that's why I start off with the question, because you know, if I go by what I'm seeing on Facebook, what I'm seeing on television, what I'm seeing on the news channels, you would think that 5 old white men got together and said, you know, I want to control women's uteruses. I mean, that's not what happened. That's what you would think is happening, but from my understanding, you know, we're supposed to, I mean, if you believe in the system of law, you believe in the Supreme Court for what it is, right? I mean, there are women on the Supreme Court, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So it's just not, so this thing about like just 5 old white men sitting around changing law, that's not true, right? Because there's women on the Supreme Court, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, and first of all, we've decided that this is the way our country is on many issues and many laws, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this uterus thing that I keep hearing about, because there's some angry people. They feel like their uterus is under control, man. And I myself, you know, full disclosure, I don't have a uterus. Just full disclosure. I just want to say that I know that I can be a birthing parent. Apparently, I can be a birthing parent. I'm learning to accept that. I'm evolving, Trinity. That I can be a birthing parent. Now, the day that happens, brother, is going to be a cool day. But you know, I'm not one yet.
I think the other thing that is being brought up that I believe bears repeating here is there's a lot of worry at the moment that this is a slippery slope, and not only are they outlining or banning abortions, but the next thing that allows them to start going after like same-sex marriages and things of that nature. And you know, I would be remiss if I didn't say that that's just nonsense. Like, nobody said anything about that. That's not been brought up in any way, shape, or form. That's just completely made up. That's what this has anything to do with. This is literally simply them saying that the federal government no longer is going to play a role in deciding that. It's going to go back to each state to decide for themselves what it is that they want, take a vote on it, and pass it or fail it.
Which is kind of what we want them to do about the marijuana laws, really, right? Is to, like, the feds need to just step out and stop calling it illegal so that the states can do what they want to do without it being an issue at the banks, you know, because they can't open bank accounts. They can't use banks to do transactions without lying to them, calling it a wellness clinic, you know, or whatever like that. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in one hand, we want the federal government to step in. On the other hand, we want them to step out.
Just that's the main debate
we're on, right?
Well, that's the main debate you have between Republicans and Democrats, right? Typically, Republicans want less government interference, and Democrats seem to want more at times.
Right. All right. So first of all, I want to address that uterus thing a little bit more, because I mean, I was just talking about this openly with somebody, you know, that I care about, you know what I mean? And just having a normal conversation.
Right.
But I was stopped early on and told flat out that my opinion is invalid because I don't have a uterus.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that.
And it threw me for a shock, because I love this person. I really respect this person.
Same. I had the same conversation with somebody in my life that I love and care about as well. And I was
is very intelligent, very educated. But we are all about conversation and communication. We are all about, we should be allowed to express our opinions from our vantage point. In other words, Yes, I come from the vantage point of the region I'm from, the culture that I was raised from, the color of my skin, the height in which I have, the thinness in which I have. In other words, all of that is going to play into uh, me and my thoughts. I get it. However, that doesn't make my thoughts or my feelings or my conversation less valid. Because if that were so, then all of you would have to shut up on so many other topics. I mean, just think about everything you'd have to shut up about, not talk about, because you don't meet 100% criteria of what somebody says you have to meet in order to have a thought on something. Can you imagine a world, Trinity, where you're not allowed to have a thought or a feeling or a conversation about something if you don't have a dog in the fight?
As a white dude in today's world, yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, but I would venture to say we all really do have a dog in the fight, and this is why. This is why I think we do have a dog in the fight. Because, look, luckily, we have 2 children, and both my wife and I, when we became pregnant, we both agreed. But everything was a we. I thought that was the advancement of life. I thought that was the advancement of time and of people, right? That it wasn't Dana's pregnant, it's we're pregnant. It wasn't Dana's having a baby, it's we're having a baby. It wasn't only Dana takes time off to raise the child in those first what was it? What do you call that when you take time off of work at the beginning?
Oh my gosh. I can't think of the word at the moment.
What Buttigieg just had. So it wasn't just one parent doing it; it's both parents. It wasn't
Paternity leave.
oh,
Paternity leave.
yeah, paternity leave. That both people can have paternity leave. It wasn't just women stay home and watch the baby. It's either parent can stay home and watch the baby.
Sure.
It's not. It's every advancement has been about a unity, except this. You talk about this topic, and it's like forget advancement, forget me not wanting to say he, she, male, women, whatever, gender's irrelevant. All of a sudden, it's like, no, gender's 100% relevant. You are a man, and because you're a man, you can't comment on this. And I'm like, whoa.
Well, mind you, they say men can have babies now too, though.
All of a sudden, my gender is important again. I mean, it's like, listen, I have my own thoughts and opinions on this topic and this subject. That's okay. They may differ from yours, and that's okay. And yours may differ from mine, and that's okay. However, I'm not going to come from your perspective because I'm not you. No, I'm not you. I'm not going to come from your perspective. I'm going to come from me and my perspective, but that doesn't make me wrong or you right. That just makes us different. And that's what's beautiful about this country. This country has been built on differing opinions, people that think differently, people that are at odds, yet can sit down and have dialogue, communication, and vote on it appropriately. Now, we have these systems in place. Now, what I'm seeing is these systems get challenged throughout our history, and that's okay too. Let's challenge it. Question authority. I believe in questioning authority. I don't believe in defying authority because it just doesn't get you anywhere, right? But questioning authority is good. But please, 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 if you're out there and you're one of these people and you're saying, oh, here's another show with 2 guys and it's 2 guys talking about abortion. Neither one of them have uteruses, so they can't talk about it. Just please, that's disrespectful. Because you know what? I have 2 children. And I think a father is just as important as a mother.
Well,
I don't think
you can't make it without a father. So
I think we're a united couple. I think that we both did it together. We had it together. We had the babies together. We made these decisions together. And let me tell you something. I don't want to be blamed for all the piece of shit dads out there that did not stick around and take care of their kids. And that's why, this is a woman's decision, because so many men, walk out and they don't have to take the responsibility and they could just leave, but the woman can't. Well, no. That's not true. There's a lot of men like me that stick around. There's a lot of men like me that are responsible. And you know what? There's a lot of women that didn't stick around either. So let's not get into this kind of tit for tat stuff. The issue is that babies are born from 2 people. And I've never liked the fact, Trinity, that we are not both involved in the conversation. Because I got to be honest, if it was mine, I don't care whether it was a fetus or a full-grown child. I believe I want a say-so. And I'm just telling you what I feel and think. I'm not telling you what the whole country thinks. And so whatever's enacted into law is enacted into law. However, if I'd have my preference, I should always have a say-so. If I can prove that is my child in your belly, I should definitely have a say-so in what happens to that child, whether you abort it, keep it, or whatever. That's just my opinion. It doesn't make it right. It's just my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Well, my first thought, and I have quite a few.
Okay.
My first thought would be this. I think it's ironic that, as you said, gender doesn't matter. They keep saying that, like, Men can have babies too, and not only women have cervical cancer, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right.
And yet, when it comes to this situation, it's like, oh, well, you don't have a uterus. Well, hold on. I mean, according to you, men can have babies. So
Right.
I should have, an opinion on this. The other thing I don't like about the whole, if you don't have a uterus or don't make decisions on women's bodies, we have an opinion what's right or wrong, right?
Right.
I think it was Ben Shapiro who had a pretty interesting argument on this. I say that because I'm going to mention his argument, and I don't want to be thought of plagiarizing here.
Okay.
His argument was essentially back in races, like in slavery days. The North was mostly white men who didn't have slaves and weren't slaves, who looked at a situation and said, you know what, that's evil, that's not cool, that needs to stop. And nobody said to them, well, you're not a slave owner, you don't know what it's like, you don't know you can't make this decision, or you're not a slave. Nobody said that to them, because they looked at something and realized this is not good, and I should stop this. So this idea that you have to be of whatever subcategory in order to have an opinion is just
Right.
fraudulent.
Right.
And as you stated, there's so many niche like issues or characteristics in this world
Right.
that
Right.
literally we all have a subset of things that isolate us from everybody else.
Right.
Like, other words, like my tattoos, it could be like, okay, well, if you don't have this many tattoos, or if you don't have this color, so like as you said earlier, we can literally narrow it down to where nobody can talk about anything ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just
That's
not
a slippery slope. I don't like it.
you just can't do it, and it's not
Yeah.
successful. It's not sustainable. It's not going to help with a society.
And it's an immature viewpoint, right? Because if you're a parent, you've heard your teenager say that before. Well, you're not a kid, you don't know, and it's like, look, man, I don't have to be 15 to give you a 15-year-old opinion. I've been 15.
Right.
You haven't been 30 or 52
Right.
now. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. It's like that is typically an immature argument, is what I'm saying. I mean, I just want to base it on the facts. I just want to base it on the data. Like,
Right.
so let's talk about some of the data.
Sure.
Because that's what's important. First of all, regardless of what side you're on, people sometimes have unwanted pregnancies for whatever
Sure.
reason. Now, I don't like that people characterize unwanted pregnancies as only rape or incest, because I'm sure that's a low percentage. I don't know about you.
1% and a half a
Yeah.
percent,
Yeah,
respectively.
I don't know about you, but I've known a lot of people that have had abortions. And I don't judge them. That's on them. However, none of the people that I can think of that have had abortions had them due to a rape or an incest situation. None of them. All of them, it was
Same.
about timing. It was about timing.
Or money.
That's what I'm saying, about timing,
Yeah.
basically, or the person. But mostly,
Yeah.
it was about timing and age and how they felt the parental people or the person that they got pregnant with would think, and
Right.
how they would respond. So those are the people, and that's just my personal circle. That doesn't mean that's for everybody.
Right.
You might have a totally different experience in that. Now, I am a child of a birth. I am a child that was birthed being told, where my mother was told that it was either going to be her life or my life, but both of us aren't going to live. So she was given a decision, either her or I mean, try to have the baby and possibly die, or abort the baby because there was complications with my birth. Now, so maybe that's also why I have this particular perspective,
Sure.
because I thank you, Mom, immensely for taking that risk for me, taking that risk because you chose to go through it with me, and God, I just feel emotionally even just thinking that, because she made it. That's a hard decision. I don't know if I would have made that same decision that my mother made.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really don't.
It's a
I
tough
really
one.
don't. If you're not in that situation, you don't know, right? So only those people out there that have ever been in the situation where a physician looks at you and says, this probably has to be ended,
Right.
to save you. And it didn't. And now I was in an incubator for about 30 days or whatever, and no touching, feeling, holding, and that probably explains a lot. But at the end of the day, I live. So getting back to some of the facts, what is the fight really about? Are you thinking that this is going to end abortions, or are you thinking that the religious right is just taking over? Because I got to be honest, I mean, nobody wants and like religious people don't get mad at me, but people really don't want you 100% in control, because if your decisions are only based by those books, and you don't believe in those books, and you don't believe in that faith, it is kind of difficult. You got to understand that if you don't believe in that faith, it's difficult to run your life based
Yeah.
on someone else's faith. That's not cool either. So, is that the only argument? Is it about? Is this a religious thing?
I think if we're going to boil it down to the basics,
Right.
I think for some people it's a religious thing, and for others it's a control thing. I think if you are pro life, it's more off of a religious or moral perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and you're thinking that your morals or your religion is supersedes everything else.
Right.
And if you're on the other pro-choice side, it's all about control. It's all about, you can't make me do certain things. It's going to affect me, not you. So I should be allowed to decide it. It's my understanding that those are the two things that it boils down to. Which I have a problem with, to be honest. But I have a problem with both sides.
What is it you have a problem with?
Well, the
First,
two,
the religious part. Tell me the religious part. What do you have a problem with them?
Well, for the religious part, I don't think that we are a country that's based on freedom of religion, and not everybody feels the same way. And
Right.
so to put your moral or your religious beliefs onto
Yeah.
somebody else who doesn't feel the same way, I think that goes against the very core of what this country was developed for, is freedom of religion. I mean, that's the whole reason why they left and came over here in the first place,
Yeah.
was religious persecution. So we need to be very careful in how we apply those things. What I don't like
just use your vote.
Yeah.
You use it for your vote, though.
Exactly. What I don't like on the other side is not the idea of pro-life or pro-choice. What I don't like on the other side of things that are typically pro-choice is I don't like their arguments. Their arguments are you just what's the word I'm looking for? Untenable. They can't make those arguments. Like, number one, and you've touched on this in a much different perspective when it comes to turtles' eggs, but they say it's not a life, right?
I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, they say it's not a life, but if we found a clump of cells up on Mars, we wouldn't say there's a clump of cells on Mars. We'd say we found life on Mars.
Right.
Much of the same way as you said turtle eggs. It's not born yet, but they protect them because they know that it's going to be a turtle at some point. And so I just don't like the arguments that they use when it comes. And the other thing about choice, this one, oh God, I'm gonna piss some people off here, and I don't really care. This is actually, there's somebody in my life that I really got into it with of this. Well, they didn't like my stance on this very much, because it's an emotional thing, and I get that. But this idea that you're taking away the choice, no, you have 4 other choices, right? The first choice you have is abstinence. I mean, you don't have to have sex. You don't have to do that at all. Second choice is contraception. They have things like condoms and birth control pills, vasectomies. There's all sorts of contraceptive things. The third one is parenthood. You could choose to just be a parent. And the fourth one is you could choose adoption. So those are 4 different choices that you have at any given moment to do. You're just wanting the 5th choice of terminate it. And for me, what I don't like about that is it takes away the importance of choosing to lay down with somebody and have unprotected sex with them. Like, that should be an important decision, and there should be consequences to that. Like, both good and bad. There should be consequences to that. It shouldn't be something you take lightly. I mean, in this country, you can have sex with whoever you want for the most part, as long as they're willing and they're legal. You can have unprotected. Like, there's nobody telling you can't do any of those things. But there's consequences. If I were to if I don't pay my bills, there's a consequence to that. If I don't pay my bills and I lose my house, I can't go around crying that I don't have a place I didn't pay my bills. I didn't go do what I needed to do. And so for me, this idea that they don't have choice, it's just, like I said, I'm not a pro-life or a pro-choice person. I mean, if we're going to give our thoughts, I will give my thoughts if that's what we're doing here. But my thing is, I don't like the arguments that they're using for them. If you changed your argument to be a little bit more honest, maybe I would go easier on you. But when you start making arguments to me that are untenable and they don't make sense, you start saying that I can't say anything because I'm a dude. I don't agree with that. You start saying that it's not a life. I don't agree with that. You start saying, like, I'm taking away your choice. I don't agree with that. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with you having one or not having one per se. I just don't like the way they're going about it, and it's a little disingenuous to me.
Yeah, I really agree with you on this a lot, Trinity, because I like using the turtle example because I live right here in New Smyrna Beach, and here in New Smyrna Beach we have turtle mounds, right?
Sure.
There's a certain time of year where they must know where these turtles must have laid their eggs, and you have to stay away. They mark it off, they
Yep.
tent it off, and people love. They come from all over the place
Yeah.
to just look at this thing roped off. There's nothing to see, by the way. It's just roped off. It's like you can't see it, and you come in the hopes.
It's
at
amazing
night,
to see, by the way.
you're not allowed to use like flashlights. There's all kinds of little rules that you can't have around it, just in case they come out. You can't have, you're not supposed to use your flashlights and everything because they'll follow the light, they'll mess them up and all that stuff. So there's all kinds of rules of how to treat these turtle eggs. Now, eggs.
Yeah.
If I would go and say they're not live, these are eggs, and go stomp on them and says it was my choice because this is on my property, and this stupid turtle shouldn't have had eggs on my property. You don't have a say, so it's not your property.
You're not a turtle.
So we protect animal life and animal species a lot better than when it involves ourselves. Because all of a sudden, when it involves ourselves, here's what we're really saying. Because you just gave 4 examples, right? And we don't like, and we never are allowed. We're not allowed to talk about those that you already had a choice. This is not about pro-choice. I agree with you. It's misnamed because you did have a choice, unless you were raped or incest or something like that. I get it. That's a totally different scenario. I don't think all pregnancies are a choice, but I'm going to say that most pregnancies probably are a choice.
Yes.
I mean, or it came from a choice behavior. It's a consequence of a decision that you made. Now,
correct.
You could blame it on the alcohol or something like that, but there were some things that had happened, right, that led to this, and this is a consequence. And now, I don't think that you should have to go for the rest of your life because of a consequence. So, should you choose to abort, that's going to be on you. And from what I'm understanding, it's still going to be legal no matter what, and you should still be able to do it. However, at least just admit what you're doing. You're choosing terminating because it doesn't fit into your life. Look,
yes, and that would be. Yes, I agree with you. That's the honest.
I'm cool if you're just honest about it. Don't say don't say that you're pro-choice, and just say I'm pro my decision, regardless of you. Now, thank you for this, but now I want to be very selfish here. I want to be selfish, and I think I deserve a life without this child. I'm too busy. I'm going up in my career, or people are going to look at me differently, or it's going to affect my life, and I don't want it. Or maybe I had it with somebody that I shouldn't have had it with. Maybe I cheated on my husband or cheated on a boyfriend. I don't want them to know. Whatever it was, whatever your situation was, I get it. But that's not. It's not a pro-choice like someone's trying to control you. It's just you had a choice. This is a consequence of your decisions, and now you should at least explore all the options before making that decision, because now we get to the next part, right? The life part, like why we've talked about the turtles. Life. Sure. Is it life? Is it not life? Heartbeat, all these other things that everybody's talking about. And listen, like you said, man, if they find cells, life form on my, again, we define this when it fits us and when it's convenient for us. But I get it, man, because and here's the real deal, Trinity. If I was a female having, and I was pregnant and I was going to have an abortion, I also don't want to view it the same as a baby. I really don't, because I got to live with myself, Trinity. I got to be able to live with this decision. And if you're out there and you're telling me that I'm a murderer and I killed the baby and all this stuff, that's going to be harder for me to live with. So I get it. I get why we have to keep certain words a certain way to protect those people's feelings. However, the facts still remain. There was life started. Life began. It came from a choice that you made. And now you have a very difficult situation. I'm so sorry that you're having to make this hard decision. And I'm so sorry that the way it turned out is that you were of one gender and the other person was of another. And yes, that person can walk away and ignore it for the rest of their life, just like Trinity's father did. Trinity's father didn't stick around. But you know what? Trinity's mother stood up and stood on that plate, swung like a champ, and hit that home run and took care of him. And so, there are women like that do that. And I know it looks right now like you can't imagine life with a child right now because of your age or whatever situation. But there's a lot of kids out there that have stories that if their parent would have made that decision, they would have never even existed. So I get it. I don't want to hurt your feelings if you've had one, and I'm not trying to shame you if you had one. We just got to be honest of how we're talking about it. Now, while we're saying that, this pro-life thing also has to change. If you're out there and you say I'm pro-life, well, we're not talking about the death penalty here today, but the same people that say pro-life are typically the same people that are for the death penalty, right?
Yeah,
So
well, and not only that, there's a difference between life and quality of life as well, because those
yeah,
same people don't really seem to care. Those same people, their care seems to stop the moment it's born. The
right.
moment it's born, it's like, okay, well, I don't care now. Let them live in poverty.
Yeah.
So it's a little
I don't
disingenuous.
I don't like your words either with this. I'm pro-life. 'Cause you're not always pro-life because you're the first to vote for war, and you're the first to vote
Yeah.
for conflict and resolving conflict by death. So and I know that's a general statement. I'm not trying to be hateful or mean. I'm just simply saying that these words of pro-choice and pro-life got to go away because they're just not relevant. What is really relevant is we got to be more honest about the truth, which is we teach our children responsibility. I know I have 2 daughters. Trust me, it was a lot of conversations about responsibility. That fear exists. Every person that has a daughter knows what I'm talking about, and every person that has a son, that you went like this because it was like, at least that they're not coming and moving back in with the baby typically. But if you have a daughter, that's what happens sometimes, and so we know these things exist. But I'm not so sure that whatever's happening in Washington right now with this Roe v. Wade is going to take us back to a Stone Age and stuff like that. So I do want to address another thing, Trinity, that I brought up. We had said that, typically rights aren't taken away. Typically there's rules to protect more and more rights and more rights and more rights, and people get.
Right.
So I've heard some arguments based on that, based on the same people fighting for this with the same people that supposedly, freed slaves and all that stuff, rights, women's rights and all that stuff. And it's like, well, wait a minute. One could argue that the law was written maybe to protect the women's rights, but it wasn't written to protect the baby's rights. And so one could make the argument that true progress or true progression is that finally we're accepting the life form of the fetus is a life that should be protected, and therefore maybe that's why this is happening, that this is the true progress. I don't know. I'm just saying that one could make that argument, right?
Yeah, of course. The other one can also make the argument. I think it's ironic that many of the same people who are saying "my body, my choice" were also the same people who were shaming those who chose not to get the vaccine for COVID as well.
Because they're not consistent at all.
It's my body, my choice, but you need to do this. Like, well, no,
Right.
if it's their body, it's their choice as well. Like, I think it's awfully convenient that they flip flop like that as well.
All the
But the
time.
other thing, so
no, stick on that topic a little bit more, because that's a little bit big. That's a little bit bigger than just a quick little sentence there.
Well,
Trinity.
I do,
because
but
we just went through 2 freaking years of being told that you're a bad person, you're a horrible person, you're a murderer if you don't get a vaccine. They literally shame people into believing that you're a murderer. You're the reason. They said this is a disease. They said this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, which is a complete lie because I'm vaccinated and I got the damn thing.
Well, and the vaccine only protects you. It doesn't really protect anybody else.
Yeah, it doesn't protect you from giving it to anybody, but that was a huge lie. But we still had the president of the United States and an entire group of news media saying that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, shaming people,
and many of the same people
putting that in their body.
Many of the same people who are saying "my body, my choice" when it comes to abortion are also the same people that were condemning those who weren't taking a vaccine. So it's not consistent, and you sound very hypocritical when you do that. But there isn't. So the basis of one of my heated exchanges with people in my life about this particular topic that I do want to address here, right? So statistically right now, you're more at risk for basically a horrible life if you don't have both parents in the home, right? And more specifically fathers. If you don't have a father in the home, statistically it doesn't look good for you. And so I think that this idea that we view sex with such a light, like a light weightness, I think is part of the problem, right? We've had these sexual explosions in the 70s or 60s and 70s, and then again in the late 90s. And now we're all like, we don't want to be sex shaming anybody and things of that nature. To one extent, I kind of understand that, and I think to an extent it was necessary. But what I don't like is people are just ignoring the blatant facts that, had I wished, do I think it would have been better for me and my children had I waited until I found somebody that I was in love with and I married them and then had children? 100%. I think my life, my kids' life, they would all be better. I don't think my kids benefit from coming from a broken home where parents are in two different places. I don't
Right.
think that benefits them. That's where we're at. That's what I got to do, and I'm working with the best that I have. But if I'm being honest with myself and with them, no, I don't think that put them, a step up from anybody. And so, for me, that's part of the idea I don't like about this view on sex of, when it comes to birthing, meaning, um, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the word was. Bottom line is this religious component to things isn't inherently bad. Do I think religion is the best answer to everything? No. But if we were to follow the tenets of saying, hey, find somebody you love them, no sex before marriage,
Mm.
is that really that bad of a thing?
Yeah.
You
No.
know, like I don't think it's that bad. Do I think it's for everybody? No. Do I think that if you don't follow that, it's inherently bad either?
No.
No. But let's stop this idea, like, because the main thing is in theory what a lot of these people are arguing is they want to be able to go through life and have sex unprotected with whoever they want to, and there's no ramifications, or this idea that the man's going to not be there or whatever. Well, if you married the man first, he's more likely to be there, right? If you just met this dude in a club somewhere and you had a one night stand with him and you get pregnant, he was never really going to be there in the first place. Like, so I'm not going to get mad at him for taking off when there was just some chick he met. Granted, they both of you guys should have gotten together and had a more responsible decision about it. But that's the thing, is women kind of control that. Men absolutely need to take accountability and not have sex with somebody without condoms. Having said that, the final layer here of protection is the women. So that is your choice. So you got it, man. It's like I'm trying to tell my daughters, stop just sleeping with any random old person. Like, respect yourself more than that, because there are real consequences. And I think that's where the pro-life people have a problem with, is you make relatively irresponsible decisions, and as a result, a child could potentially die. Because if you look at it as murder, you're murdering somebody because you just didn't want to make a good decision. Really? Really? Like, so that however long it was, let's be generous and say hour, which we all know it isn't, but let's just be generous. That 1 hour of you having fun and being irresponsible and making decisions is worth murdering somebody over. I think that's where the pro-life people have a hard time wrapping their head around.
And in addition to that, is just look around the world. What's the average amount of kids that a married couple has?
Was it 2? I think.
Yeah,
Isn't it 2 or 2 or 3? Something like that.
2.2 kids or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
like that.
I think so.
Some funny number, some fraction, right?
Exactly.
But so you might want to believe that married people only had sex twice. Then that may be what you want to believe.
Yeah.
But the reality is that most all people are sexually responsible. Most all people, they really are.
Sure.
Most people have not had an abortion and do not have 50 kids. There's a lot of people out there that have had sex easily over 100 times. They would have 100 kids if they were irresponsible. So people are typically being responsible. So if you got caught being irresponsible at a moment, you just got to own up to it somehow, right? And at least know that people are going to have opinions on it. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you. At the end of the day, you're going to have to make that very difficult choice. Because you know what? Here's what I do agree with that is more female than male. Living with it. I think living with the abortion is a lot more serious to a female than the male.
100%.
I think the fact that you had to go in there and you had to have this procedure could be traumatizing. Could have you feeling guilty for the rest of your life, shame for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Could have you feel a certain type of way. Now, that's where the guy will get over it a lot faster than you. I do agree with that. I do believe that.
Yeah.
I've counseled a lot more people that have struggled with that early lifehood decision a lot more than others. I've also counseled people, though, with that have struggled with the life decision of adopting out their kids and not knowing where they're at early on in their life. So all these decisions are tough, whether you have the baby, whether you adopt out your baby, or whether you abort the baby. All those decisions are tough. And none of us want to control anybody. We all want our freedom. We all want our ability to choose. However, I think the real lesson here to the children is not that five evil white men are up there trying to control females' uterus. I think the real life lesson here is teaching all of our children that we got to learn that our behaviors do have consequences, right? We went through a period of time where we're going through a period of time where I can go on a feed and I can see video after video of supposed videos where policemen are hurting somebody or abusing somebody. What we're not seeing is what led up to the situation. What we're not seeing is anything that really led up to it. Now, I'm not saying that cops don't sometimes act out of line. They absolutely sometimes act out of line. I think all humans at times act out of line. They're just held to a higher standard, and they don't have the luxury of being able to act out of line, especially when they have weapons wrapped all around their belt. However, that doesn't mean that we all should act like jackasses to them and then think that that's not going to have a consequence. Throwing water on them, cursing at them, throwing urine at them, yelling at them, calling them names, disobeying them, trying to run from them, trying to run them over. All those things have consequences. And unfortunately, some of those things we've seen have had consequences to the point where people have died. And then all we focus is on the end result instead of, there were behaviors that led up to those consequences. And I think that's the real lesson here, Trinity, is that what's being
accountability.
Yeah, we need to teach that a lot more rather than just teaching the end result part. The last act. The first action, I think, is a lot more important to teach than the last action. The reaction is harder to learn than the initial action. Now, second topic. Are we done with this? Let's move on.
I think
from
so.
This topic.
Yeah,
I think we beat that one. Enough.
Dude, they've been debating that since I was a child, so we're not going to solve it today.
No, and good luck. And whichever. Look, at the end of the day, full disclosure, I do not like abortions. Yet I'm not anti-abortion.
Same here.
That's hopefully not a decision I ever have to make. I would always I guess what I would say is if I would love to have a son. If one of you want to, or know that you're having a boy, you throw it over here. I'll take it. Preferably a light-skinned brown one because I am biased.
Would you like an 11-year-old boy or
no? But I like Latinos. I am biased. I'm not.
He's half Latino. So.
I'm not saying. Yeah, I'll take him. I'll take him. He's a good-looking son. I'll take him, and he's got height, man. He's got good genetics. I'll take him.
He's gonna be he's a big boy.
But
no, I full disclosure is me as well. I'm right there with you. I don't really care for them. I would advise against it more often than not. Having said that, I know my perspective of my morality is different, and I have a hard time trying to judge or trying to decide for somebody else when I'm not willing to foot the bill. In other words, I'm not going to come after the baby's born and pay for your bills, and I'm not going to do all that. So I'm not in a position to tell you must do that. Having said that, I do think that some changes should be enacted, and one of the biggest ones is, and you touched on it earlier, and this will be the last thing I say on it. I don't like the idea that it's only a woman's decision. When both a man and a woman made it, I don't like and I understand that only the woman gets pregnant, but they both made the collective decision to create it. And so I don't like the fact that half the creation people are not allowed to have a decision on that. Like, I don't like, because it irritates the hell out of me that I love my children and I've been involved in their lives, their entire lives. But if my ex would have decided out of spite or for whatever reason, no, I'm going to end them, there's nothing I could have said or done about that. That does bother me, and I think that needs to be looked at and addressed. If everything's about equal rights and equality and everything else, and don't make decisions for me as a man, then don't make decisions for me either.
Yeah, and definitely don't make decisions for my child.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. Yes, I may not have a uterus, but you're not the baby in the uterus. So that baby does have a deciding factor here too. And I think maybe at the end of the day, I don't even know how you would judge that or take that. This is such a complicated issue.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That it's for smarter people than me. But so I'm letting everybody know, if you're like us and you just have a this kind of opinions rather than that you have to work within the system of dealing with it, then let's be free to have these opinions, but not hate your neighbor for having a different opinion.
Exactly.
Do that. Let's just not hate each other for having different opinions. Let's love each other regardless, and let's celebrate each other's differences rather than all being the same. Because and again, it's the same people that say we should celebrate our differences, right? And then all of a sudden, when I think differently,
so you're different.
You're evil. You're bad. Anyway.
So now let's talk guns.
Guns.
Let's transition right into guns.
Pew pew. All right. So tell us what's in the gun news. Yeah.
Well, actually, you brought this to my attention. I wasn't even aware of it. But one of the many things that DeSantis has been doing in his governorship, which quite a few of them I agree with, mind you. His latest one is he announced that prior to the end of his governorship, that he is going to do everything in his power to make sure that Florida switches from a concealed carry permit state to a permitless state. So essentially,
Yeah.
what that means is, like yours truly, I
Right.
have a concealed permit, which means I'm legally allowed to carry a firearm concealed on my person.
Right.
Um, if this law goes into effect, I wouldn't need that concealed permit any longer, and we all could just walk around packing, essentially.
Hey, some of us are already walking around packing.
Wow.
I was kidding. Anyway, all right. So I just it had to be a stupid dude for a second.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the luxury of being a stupid dude.
Yeah, I love being a dude for
You're allowed
exactly.
to be really stupid sometimes. All right. So anyway, and immature. So Trinity, what's your initial response or reaction to this?
Ooh, I was prepared for a lot of questions, but not that one. Um, God, I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, man. I'm
You
not
don't
an
have
anti-gun guy.
okay.
I have, for full disclosure, I have several here at the house. I have some that I carry with me when I leave the house at times, mainly for protection because there's a lot of knuckleheads out there, and I'm
Yeah.
too big to be, and I'm too old to be trying to touch hands with these young kids out there. Um, I think it evens the playing field, and not, if anything, it's a big deterrent. So I'm not anti-gun. Do I think everybody has to have like 150 guns and, like, 50 calibers and all sort of stuff? No, but I also don't think there should be a law that tells you can't, per se. Like, I don't. I think there's other. I don't think guns are the problem, right?
Right.
We've talked about this numerous times. I think our inability to cope with things that we don't like is the problem. And so, if you remove guns, I mean, how many guns were used in the Boston Marathon bombing?
Right. Right.
None. Like, so this
But you're
idea that we're a warring species, and we've been at war for centuries, and for the better part of the our existence as human beings, we haven't had guns, and yet there was no shortage of dead people that we were killing and warring over. So
right.
the
Right.
idea that guns are the problem, I just don't buy. And so I think that I'm not anti-gun for that point. So the fact that he would make it a permitless carry, I guess if I had to choose one, I'm pro that, because it'll save me money. So I wouldn't have to actually renew my concealed permit every however many years it is.
Oh wow, that's at least you admit it. At least you admit it.
Because I don't care. Because to be honest with you, do you really seriously think that there's not a lot of people out there right now? You live in Florida with
I
me.
know there
We're in the
is. I
South.
know there is.
Do you think there's not a lot of people out there carrying, even though they don't have a permit? Let's just be honest.
I,
All these little
yeah.
hood rats are showing around, and all these kids apparently there's a national Bring Your Gun to School Day, and they're filming themselves. Do you think that
Wow.
those kids? Yeah, I said hood rats because have you seen the videos? They're not like upstanding citizens. They're walking around, and it's National Carry Your Gun to School Day. I'm telling you, I saw the videos, and they're
Wow.
showing them. Do you think that they have permits for those? No. Do you think some of these good old boys that we have driving big trucks like mine? Do you think that they're not having a pistol in their car without having a permit? Come on, man. Let's just be real about it.
I I know they are. Listen. All right. So I'm also not anti-gun.
No,
Um,
yeah,
I too own weapons. Um, Unfortunately, though, I've been in part of some exchanges, and I'm a very fortunate person for living through those exchanges. I've lived through 3 exchanges, and I don't have any holes in me, but there are other people that were injured in those exchanges, and so I can't help but think about that. I can't help but think about that, even though I'm accepting that I'm a gun owner, and I'm okay with all of you out there being gun owner, or most of you. Some of you really just you shouldn't have it, but most of you, I'm okay with being gun owners. Um, but I do know there's a difference of attitude and cockiness once you step out, once you walk outside. And I'll tell you what I mean. You know how we believe in liquid courage, right? We know liquid courage exists,
sure.
right? So, but when you're sober, you may respond one way, but once you get a little drink in, you all of a sudden you're Mr. Billy Badass, and then now you want to throw hands and stuff. Okay, all right. The same thing is with friends. If you got back, like when you're alone, some of you shut up. But if you got your boys with you, all of a sudden now again you know you feel stronger and tougher. Um, I've always felt that for me, uh, I was blessed with my freedom. I was blessed with not going to prison for the incident that actually got me, booted from my high school. To be honest with you, And so I felt for many, many years that I didn't trust myself out there because I might pop off. I want the luxury to pop off, to be honest with you. I want the luxury that if I choose to get in your face and we choose to have some heavier discussion, that's okay. And I'm hoping that we can have it in real old fashioned style of, no weapons involved. But if I had that Trinity, and I think this is the only reason that I still to this day am not a concealed weapons carrying person, because there's a part of me that says, Louis, that's like putting cocaine in your pocket and saying, I'm still going to stay sober. Why would you even put it in your pocket? You know what I'm saying? And there's that little piece of me that says, yeah, because what if I'm in that same situation that I'm in? Because I'm a protector of people. If I see injustice out there, Trini, I always jump in. Always. I'm that guy. I see somebody cutting in line to somebody and abusing somebody. I'm like, hey, bro, that lady was right there, man. What are you doing? And so I'm constantly doing that. And we resolve it verbally, man. I haven't been in a physical altercation forever. So whatever I'm doing right. But yet I step in. I'm not that guy to sit back and watch and let other people get hurt, injured, abused, or whatever. But if I had the gun, Trinity, then I couldn't do that. I would not be able to do that. But I might still do that. And if I still do that and it escalates, of course I'm going to pull it out. Of course I will. So for me, I'm just talking about for me, the concealed weapons part, the part that I would have to go and do the class and all that stuff or whatever, is enough of a deterrent for me not to do it. And I even joked with Dana. I said, if they make it, anybody can. I'm carrying. And so because now I'm feeling like they're all carrying, so now I'm gonna be carrying. So in my viewpoint, I like that there's some additional layer to the process, or a weapon that the law enforcement can use against you should you violate that. At least it gives them a tool to use against you should you violate that.
Well,
now,
the only
I
problem
don't
with
like
that
the
though is
fact
the
that
criminal. They don't care about that
Yeah,
law. So the only people it's going to prevent are
always the legal
upstanding people
abiding.
like yourself.
But that's the way weapons are, period.
Yeah.
That's the way all weapons are. We only know the legitimate people. It's all unfortunately, it's all the people that so many of you attack for being pro gun. Those are the most legit gun owners there are. Like even with that one kid that shot those people. Remember that kid with the
Rittenhouse.
just saw Rittenhouse. Dude, I've never seen a better shot in my life. I've never seen anyone with such a high-powered weapon, with that kind of stress going on, with that much commotion going on. Not one person that he did not intend to shoot got shot.
Yeah.
And he didn't go. I mean, dude, I've never seen a more disciplined shooter in my life. There's a lot of people like that. Now, I'm not saying what he did was right and he shouldn't have been there. I'm saying he shouldn't have been there. But at least when he fired, that dude was a disciplined shooter and knew how to use that weapon. Yeah, man. I've seen a lot of other things. Go online and see all the little bit of and nobody gets shot except a 5-year-old kid in a car 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not anti-gun. I'm okay with them being out there. I'm just unsure as to why we have to take away the concealed thing, other than people just don't trust the government and don't want their name on the list. And that would be the only argument that I could see that I would have if I wanted. I wouldn't want my name on a list somewhere that says I have this gun, I carry this gun, and hate government. So if you ever choose to do a Gestapo style go around and round everybody up, you'll know where I'm at. I don't.
Well, full disclosure, with my concealed permit, they don't know if I carry or what I carry. They just know that I have the right to. They don't ask. It's nowhere listed. I'm not registered with any of that. For my concealed permit, they just know that I have the right to have one. But I want to give you the alternative view from the one you were mentioning earlier, how you were saying that you think the idea of having one's going to make you a little bit more emboldened to say or do things.
I don't know. It's just.
Well, that's possibly true for a lot of people, but I also think another thing is possibly true is once you start to go through the class and you realize that you have that on your hip, that changes things. You realize now, like you could actually end somebody, so you're less likely. Like for me, my whole life, it kind of matches to it, right? So my whole life, for the majority of my adult life, I've been a lot bigger than most people, and so I know that if I were to get into an altercation, even without a weapon, I'm more likely to do a lot more damage to this other person. If we both just hit each other as hard as we can in the face, he might hurt me. I'm probably going to knock his, I'm going to hurt him really badly. And And so I'm aware of that. So I avoid a lot of conflict when it's unnecessary. It's like
Good
the
point.
David and Goliath thing, right? When you see somebody huge, it's like, dude, with real strength comes mercy. With real strength comes, I don't need to do it because it's like the big dog that doesn't get up to bark. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I don't need to. I'm bigger. If
Yeah.
if it really hits the fan, I'll do what I got to do, but I don't need to. And so I kept that same mentality. Matter of fact, I gotten even more chill when I had a firearm
Mm.
because I know I will use it. I have no doubt in my mind if a situation occurs where it's me or them, I'm going home tonight and you're not. And so knowing that, I'm very hesitant to pull it. I make sure I avoid situations. If I see conflict arising, I usually remove myself from the situation. I'm already kind of used to doing that. I'm just even more heightened now because I know it's lethal. If
Yeah,
we
but see,
touch, go ahead.
no, Trinity, but see, you already had that big man mentality, and big men have always been like that. That's why I used to love
Yeah,
fighting big men
possibly.
because they try to be so peaceful. They know they can whoop your butt, so they like chill. I have
Right.
little man's mentality, dude. I was a
The
little dude,
Napoleon
man.
complex.
Yeah, so I I was like, I was always creating conflict,
But
Trinity.
don't you think a lot of those people are already carrying though? Do you think those people are waiting for the law to change? And
Yeah,
that's
but
my
just
point. So
but that's simply like saying, how like when we talk about parents with, tell your kids not to drink. Well, that's like saying, well, they're already drinking, so why tell them not to? Well, because you're the parent.
yeah,
That's what you do. So same
I,
thing. Like you
I
tell
feel that's a
people, look,
slight false equivalency, but I hear you.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just not sold on the idea of why to change it. Why we
Right.
changing that rule? Why are we changing the law?
I
I don't
think
get
he's
it.
going after his base, to be honest with you. I mean, he's trying to get reelected. He's trying to probably make a presidential run, and if he's a Republican, that's a huge Republican win to have
Yeah.
that. So that's why he's doing
And
it. I mean, that's
they're doing it
just
in a lot of states. Texas already did it.
yeah,
I think
I mean, let's
Virginia
call
already
it
did
duck a
it.
duck. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah.
And he's
I mean,
doing it to rally his base.
oh no, man. It almost feel like people just getting armed and ready. It seems like I don't know.
Yeah,
You guys should just remember. I'm cool with you. I'm cool with
right.
both sides. Whichever side is winning, I'm on your side. All
Sure.
right, so that's that issue. What's the next issue?
Well, the third one is gaming and politics and gaming.
Oh Jesus,
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me.
it is.
Yeah, So the reason why I put this one in there, and you kind of you agreed. The what initiated this was due to here in the States, because once again I realized that a lot of our listeners are not in the States, but in the States we have the Supreme Court thing that happened with the abortion, which we covered at the top of the show. Well, because of that, I do game, and Louis does as well. We game different games, but at one point he played Destiny, which is a game that I spent a lot of time on. Their head company that started it, Bungie, they released this statement, kind of just they said they're backing their employees, and saying that essentially they were pro-choice for that matter, which struck me as odd because what about the employees that you have that aren't
Yeah.
pro-choice? Like, are you speaking for them as well? Which to me is the inherent problem as a company coming out and getting political is everybody plays your game. Young, old, red, blue, pro-life, pro-choice. And they came to you most times for an escape, to get away from the politics, to get away from the nonsense, and just enjoy some time, either with friends or some family, or just dead time where you're just like, I'm not thinking right now, I'm not solving problems, I'm just blowing things up, or I'm playing football, or I'm doing whatever entertainment that I enjoy doing. But when you start interjecting your politics into it, then everything you do starts to come into question, and then we start to look at all. It's unnecessary,
Yeah.
and I think it does nothing but divide. And
Mm.
so for me, I don't like that. And this particular company's done it multiple times. They've come out for the Black Lives Matter. They come out for the gay rights and trans stuff. They've come out for
Right.
abortion. And so for me, I don't like that when any company really
So it's
does it.
always one side. It's only one side.
For this particular company, yes, but not all companies do that.
Right.
I mean, each company, my whole thing is this idea of companies in general, right? But more specifically, we're talking about gaming. The other reason why I have a fundamental problem is no, they are not adequately addressing both sides. And when it comes to politics, I think if all you hear is one side, that is no longer politics. That's now indoctrination.
Right.
You have to offer the opposing side, the opposing view. We
Right.
are a two-party system, meaning each party has. We have state laws that dictate that if you give a certain amount of airtime to one politician, you have to give the equal amount of airtime to the other politician.
Right.
And so, because we know that you have to have equal say, because each perspective matters. And so in the gaming world, like, I haven't seen. I'm gonna call out Bungie again because we're talking about them in the game of Destiny. I haven't seen anything that wasn't on the woke agenda. I haven't seen the opposite argument made. I've seen it all very, very pro this side. And me as a grown man, I can see through that when I see it, and I can ignore it and just play the game for what it's meant to be and just not address it. But if you're like 10, 12, 13, 14, and you're going to school and that's all you're hearing, you turn on the TV, that's all you're hearing, you go to play your video game, which you spend a lot of time doing, that's all you're hearing, at some point you're being indoctrinated. And I don't like that, because you're not getting both sides. This idea, at least here in America, where you can't hear the other side, that is not what this country was founded on.
Right. Yeah, because you think everybody believes like you. Then you think everybody believes that.
Yes, it's in an echo chamber.
Let me ask you something. So this company Bungie, is Destiny their number one game? Did they make a lot of money?
It's their only game at the moment. Yeah, and they just got bought by Sony for like $4 billion. So yes, they make a lot of money.
So this is Bungie's only game.
At the moment, I think they're developing a second one.
And Destiny, is it a game that involves violence?
That's all it's about. You played it. It's killing and shooting things.
Yeah. So it involves guns?
A plethora of guns. Many.
Okay. Yet you said they're woke.
Yep.
The same side that would say guns are bad.
Most likely they haven't. I don't know if that's a position they've taken, but it would.
They're not going to take that position in their game because they're making money off that in their game.
Yeah.
So this is so the reason I'm saying that is because this is the problem with this the woke agenda, right? And this is why I have a problem with the pendulum swing too far, right? And again, I don't mind my left friends and my right friends. It's the ones that are all the way the pendulum left and that think everybody on the right is ridiculous, all the way is right and think everybody to the left is ridiculous. Like, in other words, if a person is just a little bit off than you, like, they're the other side, because you went too far. So how can a company have this agenda to constantly be doing, like what you said, all those other topics of wokeness they've been but they've never touched on the guns? Why? Because they make money off the guns. They make money off the violence. They make money off the gaming. So you pick and choose. And here it is again, the consistency. See, here's what I can say. Look, I've never been a right winger, not even close. But what I can say is from my birth, from the time of my birth, the right wing is the right wing is the right wing. They have been 100% consistent with their messaging at all times. I know exactly where any issue that comes up, I could tell you where they probably stand because I know where that indoctrination. There's a formula of where the indoctrination comes from.
Yeah.
So it's easier to predict, but this other side, it keeps going so far and far and being inconsistent, and it's like it's not far enough. Like, so if you're not far enough, you're not even there.
Yeah.
I mean, only they could make us sound like Republicans.
Yeah, exactly.
But they keep going so far crazy over there that now me and you look like Republicans and we're not even Republicans. It's like, why did you do that to me? You know what I mean? And here's the reason why. You take all these stances and issues and you bring it into our games, because I was playing that. Remember that one time I joked with you, I was playing like a Tiger Woods game, right? I'm golfing and I realized that all the players the announcer that they have, that they have an announcer. So it's like if you're watching TV golf, they keep saying they hit the ball. They did this. Everything was a they. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. It hit me. They never said he or she. I changed the gender of the character to see if they would go to she. They. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't even catch that they changed the pronouns in the Tiger Woods golf game to say they, so everyone is equal. Everyone's the same gender.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, could change the gender of your character, blah, 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 blah. You could do all that. Like, it's really subliminal. But when the person speaking was they. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then, I start opening the eyes, right? What I see in Assassin's Creed, what I tell you, I was like, hey, man. So at the beginning, it says this is created by people of all different ethnicities and all different cultures and religious backgrounds, blah, blah, blah. But then constantly in the game, it's attack religion, man. I mean, it's like religious poor humor after religious poor. It's constantly making it stupid. Every dialogue, every cutscene that involves a religious content was like almost like if you believe in religion, you're an idiot, you're supernatural, you believe in. I mean, even the Viking one was making the belief in Valhalla and all a lot more logical than some mythical Christian one that is stupid, and they just tear it apart. And I'm thinking, wow, man, it's amazing.
Well, they have a lot of that though.
So it's not just indoctrination of one side, but it's even the bashing of those that they believe to be the right wingers, because they know they're attacking just Christians. They're not attacking Muslims. They're not attacking Jewish people. They're attacking Christians specifically in the games and I'm not Christian. So if I'm offended and I'm not Christian, can you imagine if you're a Christian person playing these games and all of a sudden it's like constant bash, 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 or worse, I'm a Christian person that bought the game for my child, but I didn't know my child was being indoctrinated a certain way to think in all of these political issues. That's
and they even have stereotypical characters all the times too. Like, they'll have, like a redneck hillbilly who's out there shooting people and doing
always bad.
Yeah. They have a lot of those, like, and that's the thing is those I think we've tolerated for many, many years and we've looked past and we've accepted them. We could argue if that's right or wrong, but what I don't like now is the very public, blatant stances that they're taking. That I have a problem with. Like when you're tweeting on Twitter, you're saying that, and in Destiny they have these little emblems that you can put up for your name and have your stats on it. And oftentimes they've created ones for specific groups. They have like a Black Lives Matter one, they have a women's rights one. But they don't have a men's rights one. And that's an example of what I mean. Like I'm not saying that women's rights don't matter and Black lives don't matter. I'm not saying any of that.
Yeah.
But men's rights matter as well. Like there's an epidemic of hating on men in this country and taking away some of our rights. We're the number one victims of domestic violence in this country. We're the number one of rape, believe it or not, especially if you count in prisons. We're not allowed to cry or do whatever. We take the most dangerous jobs. Where's our emblem? And that's my problem is like, and that is the problem when you start to insert yourself into these arguments. Because now you leave yourself open to all these different things. Whereas if you just stayed out of it and just made the game, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, it didn't just go to you, man. We get used all the time. I don't know where we stand as Latinos anymore. There's no Latinos who need those either. The last 2 seasons of Big Brother and what do you call Survivor have really upset me because in their attempt to be more inclusive, they've actually reduced the Latino presence completely. If there is a Latino, it's a Black Latino, and it's one. And if there is a Latino, it's a gay Latino, just one. But you have more gay people on a show than Latinos, and 4 times more Black people on the show than Latinos. You do know that Latinos are the largest population, the largest minority population in the United States, right? There's 20% of us, and yet we're not represented anywhere like that. Why? I don't know. But if you're going to push this agenda, you got to know there's other groups, whether it be an Asian group, whether it be a Latino group, whether it be a female group, that are going to say, hey, wait a minute, just because the gender groups are arguing more right now, and just because the Black groups are arguing more right now, that doesn't mean that the Asians don't want this equality as well. That doesn't mean that the Muslims don't want this equality as well. That doesn't mean that the Latinos don't want this equality as well. Look, we all want it, but where does it end? There's not enough short people. There's not enough tall people. There's not enough skinny people. There's not enough fat people. There's not enough, where are the people that are disabled? Where are the people in wheelchairs on these shows? There's never people with those kinds of disabilities on these shows. So is the wheelchair population going to come up and says, hey, how come we're never represented on these shows? I mean, seriously, where does it end? And I never see the little people. Where are the little people? They have their own show. It's called Little People. Yeah. The really huge people, they have their own show. It's called 3,000 pounds or whatever the hell pounds, but not on a regular show. So where does it end? Or do you just go to the groups that at that time they come with the most votes? At the time, you can
most money.
You can look like you care. You can look like you give a damn. Damn well you don't give a damn.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the arms dealers who sell to both countries. It's the arm dealers that go to this country. He's like, yeah, man, they don't understand you. Here, buy my guns. And then they go across the border to the other country and say, hey, you know what? That country doesn't like you. They just bought all these guns. How about you buy some guns as well? That to me is who they are.
Yeah.
And the problem is most people don't see that. And that's what bothers me. So
it's crazy. All right.
You ready to go to our
that's that topic.
Fourth and last one?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
That's ridiculous, man. I guess I'll introduce it. Why not?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of
I don't know
course.
how long ago. It was like a month ago now, maybe. I don't even know how long. The slap heard around the world. Chris Rock was on stage making a joke at Jada Pinkett Smith's cost, I guess, if you want to. Wasn't about alopecia or anything like that. It was about her, but they all took it personal, and so Will Smith got up and slapped Chris Rock in front of the whole entire world. And I think you and I talked about it right then and there, and other people, of course, other comedians have come out and says like, dude, you just set the precedence now.
Yep.
So now are people just all across the land going to just get up and start going on stage and smacking people?
Yep.
Well, the answer to that is yes. Because Dave Chappelle was just attacked a couple days ago now. Guy jumped on stage. He had a toy gun with a knife in it, approached him and tackled him on stage, and then was subsequently dealt with by everybody backstage. Ended up getting arrested, and now they're talking about what they're going to charge him with. But dude, that was I knew the moment that it happened. That was one of the biggest reasons why I was so anti Will Smith doing that. You can't just go and attack somebody because they hurt your little feelings when they said something. Sticks and stones, man. Like, learn to be like, okay, especially when it's a comedian who gets paid to do this. So the idea that and I think Dave Chappelle's hilarious, man. I think he's one of the funniest comedians of our generation.
He's
He's
one of the best for sure.
That's a problem, dude. You can't just go running up on stage, man. That's
Did
what these people get paid to do.
Did you see that? I mean, the fact he came running, man. He came to tackle him.
Yeah, it's a hard video to watch. It's like so grainy and little, but yeah, he basically tackled him and then got up and tried to run, and then that's when everybody else chased him and gave him a whooping.
Here's what I thought was the funny thing. The funny thing is that Chris Rock opened up that concert.
Did you hear what he came up after said?
Yeah, and then he came up and said, "Was that Will Smith?"
Exactly. That was awesome.
But at first I'm looking at him, I'm going, "Is this a skit?" Because Dave Chappelle, that's a smart man.
Yeah. Well, Dave even said he thought it was a skit at first.
Yeah. So, and I guess we're not, I don't think we're gonna know, to be honest with you, if it is or isn't, other than we don't know.
His face is gonna show it wasn't. He got beat, man. They beat him up. It was actually Busta Rhymes and Jamie Foxx beat him up backstage.
Yeah, those are two bad brothers right there, man. So I wouldn't want to get hit by either one of those.
Old now, but yeah, I hear you.
Oh, come on, man. You're old, but I wouldn't want to get hit by you.
I'm just saying. In their younger days, I think they definitely would have been more
yeah, I'm gonna bet those two guys are still heavy-handed.
Probably, maybe.
So just getting hit, over and over again, kicked probably, I don't know. They got handled, or that guy got handled. But the point is that, look, people, again, this whole show has been about differing opinions. That's what We the Middle is about. It's about differing opinions. It's about having one viewpoint over another. Comedians are meant to push our buttons because we have to laugh at ourselves. We have to laugh at our absurdities. We have to laugh at our differences, and we have to laugh at our similarities that it's like we don't really talk about because it's taboo of one way or another. They just have a funny way of saying it and bringing it out, right?
Yeah.
They have what they do is they talk about, this is what makes them funny. They talk about perspectives that we all have, but many times we're just not free or able or brave enough to express it. They do. They get up on that stage and they do. They tell our wives exactly how we're feeling about them. They tell the husbands exactly how their wives are feeling about them. They tell men how they feel. They tell women how they feel. They tell any gender person, any other types of gender, how they feel. They have the ability, once they have that microphone on that stage, to be equally as rude and equally as judgmental and equally opinionated towards everybody. And that's what makes comedians. And look, because of that, a lot of them are suffering deep, man, deep. They have a lot of deep emotional scarring because their stuff is all being hidden behind that, all that clown crying.
Of course.
Like that. So don't just think that, wow, that's easy. They just get up and make fun. No, man. They take a lot. They have a lot of pain inside that's how they express their pain, through the sarcasm and through that and through their storytelling. But man, if we are now at a point, first we got to a point where we're censoring them, that we don't let them talk about certain people or certain types of people. Now we're going to start physically attacking them should they offend you. And this didn't happen at that event. This happened maybe before because the guy came prepared. The guy came with a fake gun with a knife on it. It makes you think, well, why didn't he pull it out? Luckily, he didn't pull it out. So
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to know whether, unless he tells us that the item that he had on him, if that was meant for Chappelle or if he just normally carries it like Trinity does,
Right.
and it was meant for, if anybody just pops off, he's going to have it. You know what I mean? We don't know.
So perfect example. One of our listeners here on Facebook, Marissa, says, I told my favorite comedian he better start making a disabled joke because I'm feeling left out, but he won't go there. And then immediately made me think of a disabled joke that I've heard, but I will not share it online. I won't share it
wow.
live on the air because I'm not trying to get, the hate mail.
Oh, wow.
So Marissa, I can say it to you privately if you'd like. But even then,
Yeah.
right? But even then, you got to worry. I don't think she would. But even then, you got to worry people screenshotting it and putting it out there, and then you're canceled and stuff. It's like you're like
Don't
so
do that, Trinity.
scared of getting
Nope.
canceled all the time.
No, Marissa, you're just going to have to come back to Florida and he'll give it to you next time. He's
Right?
yeah, Trinity.
Let
you're
my
not allowed
text
to put-
messages get hacked or something.
Yeah. She gets attacked by Facebook all the time and Twitter.
Right.
Remember, because they come at her.
Well, she already commented earlier. She'll be surprised if this show stays on air.
I would be too. I'd be too.
Yes.
I'm sure we've said a lot of words here that their little trigger police will. Maybe we should put a trigger warning at the beginning. Is that
Right.
This may be offensive to you
Like
because
they did on Blazing Saddles.
we might think differently than you. The views and opinions may be different than yours and therefore offensive to you. That's what that should say. It's not the views and opinions. It should be like, we may be different than you, speak differently than you, look differently than you, therefore we're offensive to you. If we look, sound, or are different than you, apparently, it's bad. Anyway, I look, Trinity, I don't think that they should attack Chappelle. I don't think they should attack any comedians. And you know what? Don't attack me either. Now Trinity's packing, so don't attack him because he's packing.
And I will use it if I need to.
Yeah, and if DeSantis passes this, man, don't come attacking me because I'm quick to pop, pew pew. I'm going guns blazing, bro. I'm not going out like that either because I'm like you, Trinity. I'm way too old to be fighting, man. I'm older than you. I'm 10 years older than you, brother. I'm way too old to be fighting. I would much rather just sit in front of the judge and the judge says, "Did you shoot the man?" I go, "Damn sure did. Damn sure did.
Yeah.
I did, Your Honor. Look at me. Look at him. I know there's video out there, Your Honor, because everybody's got a phone. So I'm sure there's video out of what a jackass that dude was, and he deserved every bullet I put in his body, Your Honor. Because I guarantee you that's exactly the way that will go. It'll be a much different scenario this time than the last time. Anyway, so what was the fifth thing that Marissa wanted to bring up?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Marissa.
Did we ever know, Marissa? What was that fifth thing? Let's hit it before we go.
Yeah, before we end on this,
right?
It's yeah. I see. Even that I have a problem with. Right, the fact that we have to worry that the show might get taken down because I don't think we've said anything offensive in this show. I think we just offered up opinions, whether you agree or not. It is what it is. But the idea that we can get canceled for that, or the idea that it can be taken down, is just absurd to me.
Trinity, you wouldn't know if it was offensive or not. You're not me, and you don't have a uterus.
Exactly.
You don't have a uterus.
I am a straight white male, so therefore I don't know anything, and it's all my fault.
Now I just did it. I just sealed the deal. Now I just because I said uterus. You're not. You're definitely not allowed to say that right now. I'm just saying it because we all just got to lighten up, man. I mean, seriously.
Right? Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to just
watch the beginning of the show?
Chilled out, man. I mean, having a good time. Whatever happened to that?
Well, here's the weird thing. I used to joke as a kid that if they made pot legal, everybody be relaxed and chill. I've never seen people more uptight in my damn life. More people smoke now than ever, and everybody's so freaking uptight. So
you know what?
Clearly, marijuana ain't working. Marijuana is not calming everybody down. It's making you all freaking nuts.
Well, while we're waiting on Marissa to put her topic up there, I actually have a question for you. Mm-hmm. What percentage of the people right now that are angry about abortions are going to be in a position where they might have to make that decision?
You just made me think of something, bro. You made me think of something. Well, because I'm going back to the person that told me I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I don't have a uterus. If that's true, if I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I don't have a uterus, I'm going to look at the next person that's over the age of 35 or 45, and I say, you're not allowed to have an opinion because your uterus is too damn old. So I'm going to say that. You know what I mean? He's like,
but that's my point, is everybody's so uptight about things that really don't impact them. Like, they're not even going to have to go through for the most part. Like, they're upset and angry about it.
I think it impacts
us all. It impacts us in an indirect way, but I'm talking about direct impact. Like, you're not going to be able to go down tomorrow and get yourself an abortion. You know what I mean? Like,
Correct.
it's interesting to me.
But I do have children.
Sure.
I will have grandchildren. I have
Hopefully.
relatives, and I want them all to be, should they make a certain choice or decision, that it be safe. I don't think this Roe v. Wade going away is going to make it less safe for them, but maybe that's just me. And I don't think the Roe v. Wade protecting them from it being unsafe, because Roe v. Wade's in place, and I know that minors right now can have abortions without their parents ever knowing.
Yeah.
They can go to a judge and get it done without their parents ever knowing. So I don't think the current system is the right system anyway, even with Roe v. Wade in place. So if this creates a better system of a very difficult thing, then I'm all for it. Let's revisit this and fix it.
Here's the topic that Marissa said. They're saying Amber Heard snorted cocaine behind a tissue today. It's going viral. Short video. So all her crap about substance use with Depp is canceled out now. I haven't seen that video, so I don't know how much of a comment I can make on it. We've commented on the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial a couple shows ago. It's an interesting trial. There's a lot of stuff going on right now that has not been proven. Right? There's a whole video series out there saying Amber Heard plagiarized a bunch of comments from movies and stuff. Nobody knows how truth that is. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on around that. I don't know how much I would believe. It is an interesting trial. Why it's captivating America the way it is, I don't know. As far as the snorting the cocaine thing, I don't know. I haven't seen the video.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna like this opinion, but here's my opinion on this. I think that just because you're not in recovery doesn't mean you can't help somebody be in recovery, right? And the reason I'm saying that is this. You may drink alcohol. That doesn't mean that you can't look at somebody else and say the way you're drinking is out of control. You may even do drugs, and you can still have an opinion on someone else's drug use. I think everyone is allowed to have an opinion, and I don't know anything about Amber Heard, but I don't think her, even if she snorted it like full video, even if she says, yes, I do cocaine, she could still make comments about his drug use, I think. That doesn't make it less valid to me.
Yeah,
what it means is that it's maybe instead of he needs help, it's we need help. It might change a he to a we,
right?
But it doesn't make the opinions less valid. Now, unless she was saying, I'm completely sober, like if she was denying it, then it would mean something,
right?
But I personally look at this as a nice little train wreck of a relationship,
yes,
or a past relationship.
Fire. Yes,
I really do prefer the Kardashian Yee train wreck. Kanye West is, to me, is a lot more interesting as a character than Johnny Depp. But Johnny Depp, I just want him to go back to acting. All right, enough of that, Johnny. Go back and go make a movie. But Kanye, he just interests me. He just makes things interesting. So I don't know why. Brother, I went years of not getting it. I didn't understand why people liked him. I didn't understand any of that. But
I'm still in that boat personally.
I know, but because Dana watches that Kardashian show, that's her what do you call it? Pet peeve, not pet peeve, but what's that when you
Vice?
You like something? Yeah,
Vice.
whatever. Anyway, so I would see it, and I would see it with Kanye on it. And I'd come to like the brother, man. I was like, I like that dude, man. He's just weird. It's just I like weird people. I like interesting, odd, weird people. And therefore,
I think there's a Netflix documentary about him I have on my list. I just haven't watched it yet.
Cool. Well, anyway. All right, man. Well, it's Friday. You know what's happening this weekend, Trinity?
No, I do not. Please tell me.
My oldest daughter's graduating UCF. Dalia Delgado is a UCF graduate.
I feel like I should have known that.
She's graduating college, man, today. Or tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
So we're going to go to
I knew it was
UCF
coming.
graduation.
I just didn't know the day.
So I got people showing up in, any minute now.
Skylar's graduating high school on May 18th. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So we got some graduates. Got some graduates. But that's awesome, man. So it's a pretty exciting weekend. Also, it's Mother's Day weekend. So make sure to take care of your mothers. If we're still allowed to have Mother's Day, and again, I'm sure you don't mind birthing parent day, whatever. But Mother's Day, I'm still going to call my mom mother. And you know what? I want to say congratulations to all the mothers out there. We love you, and without you, we would never be. Thanks to all your uteruses, we exist. We appreciate.
Thanks, Mom, for not aborting me.
Yeah, and thank you, Mom, for not aborting me. And even though you had the choice, and those white men were telling you to abort me, you chose not to. Thank you very much. And they did it without drugs back then, man. Remember, my mom was a military birth
Right.
back in '69, where they didn't even use medication, and my dad could not be in the room. It was just you had to sit there and just suffer through it, dude. My brother was a breech baby, big old sucker, man, like a 10-pound breech baby. My mother's 4 foot tall, brother. Can you imagine?
No, the idea of pushing a kid out
With
of
no
me
drugs. With
no.
no drugs. I at least was this big. I was like this big. I came out like a fart.
Came out like a tadpole.
I came out easy.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, man, that's enough, man. We're going nowhere quick. But happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We love you, appreciate you. Dharma guy, you have any final words?
Just learn to accept the fact that not everybody's going to think the same way you do, and that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where I'm at, man. People are going to have difference of opinions. That doesn't make them any less of a person. Doesn't mean that they're evil. It just means they feel differently than you, and that's usually because of their own experiences and their own thoughts and things that they've encountered. And that doesn't mean I'm evil. Just get along, man.
Exactly. Yeah, didn't know what Rodney King said? Can't we all just
Let's all just get along.
Man, dude, that brother could never been more true, man. It could never been more right.
Yeah.
Between him, look, all the good thing that's ever been said has been between Rodney King, Maya Angelou, and Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
If you listen to those three people,
George Carlin said some pretty good stuff, though.
Yeah, and George Carlin. You could throw some George Carlin and Richard Pryor if you're going to do that then. But all the stuff that we need to hear came from those brothers. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, and sister. Anyway, that's it from all of us here. Dope and Dharma. Make sure to follow Dope and Dharma on YouTube. Make sure to follow us also right there on Facebook. So you see that, facebook.com/WPSN99. Thank you all for listening. Remember, we can talk about anything you wish to talk about. Send it to us. Send us, some topics you want to hear about. On Fridays, we do just about anything. It's more like this. On Mondays, we do the Couch Live. On Tuesday, we do Dharma Time. They're all different topics, all different types of shows, and the most important people in the room are you. So thank you all very much. Adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.